Welcome back to Authentic Inspiring, where today we have a special guest, Patrick, with us, who's going to be getting into some of his own personal testimony and his story that's going to fit into the series that we're doing with addiction and recovery. So welcome, Patrick.
Thank you for having me.
Hi, Patrick. So again, welcome to Authentic Inspiring. So today we're going to be diving into a little bit about your story of addictions and recovery and how that, took you into your redemptive side of your lifestyle and where you're at today. So Patrick, can you share a little bit with the audience about your childhood and growing up? What was that like?
Definitely. I grew up like a lot of people out here in the community. I grew up in a single home. I was raised by my mother. There was 5 of us. We grew up in poverty, very, very poor. I remember, sleeping on the floor in people's houses, sharing blankets, with my brothers and sisters sleeping on the floor. And so, I remember my childhood just being rough, very, very poor, and just seeing what everybody else had that we didn't have. One thing I was blessed with in my childhood was a strong mother. She was a very strong woman, a godly woman, a God-fearing woman. She raised us in church till I was probably 13, 14. And that's one thing in my childhood that I am grateful for.
Nice. Nice. That's so good. I always hear like when, we say like, cause I can say that I was brought up here in Salt River, raised in poverty. I always say I was raised that there's a song by SPM, Raised on Beans and Rice. I always laugh because I'm like, seriously, I literally was raised on beans and rice and fried bread and tortillas. But to me, it was like a blessing. Like, some people look at that as like, it was poverty, but it never felt like it at the time until we started growing up.
That's funny you say that. Now that I look back at my childhood, it is a blessing. It makes me grateful for the things I do have. Yes. But it wasn't until I got sober and, got into recovery that I could see these blessings. Yes. I was blind by my addiction. And so it took me getting into my recovery for me to realize the blessings that the hard times, the struggles were a blessing. And I just couldn't see it at the time. And I truly, honestly believe, God does everything for a reason and for a purpose.
Yes,
and, I had to go through that childhood and the trauma and the hurt and the pain to be the man I am today. And, without my childhood, I wouldn't be me today.
Yeah, nice. So, Patrick, at what age did you start using drugs or even alcohol? Like, when did you say like your addiction really took place?
Well, for me, my addiction really didn't start till after I got out of the military.
Okay.
I served 3 years active duty. I did another 4 reserve time. I did 3 tours at this time. And it wasn't until I came back from the military that my addiction really kicked off. When I was growing up, I, partied with the guys, 13, smoking weed, drinking, but it wasn't an addiction. It didn't become an addiction until, again, after I came back from the military.
The military. Wow. So total 7 years? Like if you...
No. If I had to count, like I said, once I got out of the military, I was a non-functioning alcoholic for 10 plus years.
Okay.
That addiction cost me my family, cost me my wife. It cost me pretty much everything.
Wow.
But I was able to, by the grace of God, pick myself up. I got a job here in the community. I was doing good. But again, that addiction was out there doing push-ups waiting for me.
Wow.
So while I was in the military, I injured my back and I was put on pain management for years and years and years. I never took the pills though because I was an alcoholic when I came back from the military. So once I quit the alcohol and I got myself right, the addiction switched. It went from the alcohol to the pills. And, my brain was telling me, it's okay, you're prescribed these. And, I started to abuse them. And, that addiction took off really fast.
Okay.
That addiction cost me everything within a year.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the military, let's talk a little bit about that. So the military, obviously, it affected your addiction. That's kind of where sounds like you learned your addictions or it took toll on you after you came back. How about your mental health? Did the military affect your mental health in any way?
Definitely. The military definitely affected my mental health. Being in the military, I saw things that no human should ever see. I smelled things that no human should ever smell. And I heard things that no human should ever hear. and it definitely messed with my mental stability.
Okay.
You know, I started drinking, self-medicating. I started self-medicating because just the nightmares and the things that I had saw and smelled and heard, they never left me.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I started drinking just to go to sleep because I couldn't
Okay.
sleep because of the nightmares and you know, these things that I saw and heard. So I reached for the bottle, and that's where I got my relief, was from that alcohol.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, because I even felt the emotion with that, and I appreciate your vulnerability, Patrick. I really do. What about, let's talk about PTSD. I know me and you kind of talked a little bit about that. What does that look like for you?
To me, PTSD is just a reminder of trauma. It's just a reminder of that pain. It's something I dealt with for years and years and years. You know, but it wasn't until I started talking about it that it started getting better.
Okay.
It wasn't until I gave my life to Jesus that, you know, that he
Amen.
took that away. You know, he
Okay.
healed my heart. He healed me. I was broken. I was definitely a
Yes,
broken
yes.
person. And, you know, he took that away. And I
Nice.
can honestly say today that, you know, I don't deal with PTSD no more.
Good.
You know, he
Amen.
took it from me. He healed me. And so I can honestly say, you know, by the grace of God, I'm here.
That's so good, so good. So what was your turning point? When was your turning point, you would say?
It's a good question. You know, like most people, rock bottom. It
Okay.
took me, you know, like I said, you know, I got my life back after the alcohol. You know, I was doing good. You know, I found a good woman, and you know, again, I lost it all. You know, I hit rock bottom again, and this time I ended up homeless, living behind a garbage can. I caught 3 felonies in 2 years.
Wow.
And so, you know, it was going to jail that really opened up my eyes. Like, I don't want to be here. Like, this is not for me. I know God's called me for something better than this.
Yes.
And it was that time in jail, just hitting my knees. I know a lot of people, when they go to jail, you know, they pray and they say, God, if you get me out of here, you know, I'll turn my life around. I'll do this, I'll do that. But for me, you know, I was sincere when I said it. You know, I meant it. I meant every word. God, I don't know what I'm doing. You know, obviously my way is not working. I can't do this no more. I surrender. It's your will, your way, not Patrick's will, not Patrick's way, because my will and my way is what got me here.
Yes.
And it's his will and his way that got me out of there.
Okay. Okay, that's so good. So what has helped you, Patrick, stay committed to your recovery?
God. I'd have to say God, and the purpose and the destiny that I have found in him. You know, he's given me this heart. You know, it's one thing I really disliked for the longest was his heart. You know, it made me feel weak, because I cared and, you know, I loved, and it made me feel weak. But now I see it as a blessing. You know, God's blessed me with this heart to love others. One thing I pray all the time, Lord, show me how to love others like you love me. And you know, it was just, I can't explain when that turning point was.
Okay.
I just know it was just like a blink of an eye. Like, I can't explain what happened. You know, I surrendered, and I woke up one day and let's go. Let's get it.
Let's go. It's time to change.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So since your healing and your healing journey, how has your identity changed?
Wow, my identity has changed a lot. You know, in my addiction, you know, people didn't even want to be around me. People didn't trust me. Now I have my family back in my life.
Okay.
You know, I got a good job. You know, everything that I lost in my addiction, God gave me back tenfold. You know, I'm a full-time student. I'm 2 credits shy of my AA.
Wow, let's go.
Yes. You know, life is good these days. You know, every day I get to wake up, I'm blessed. I have a great job helping others in the community. You know, what the devil meant to break me, my addiction, you know, God turned around and used for good.
Okay.
And you know, that just goes to show that, you know, struggles, pain, whatever it may be, you know, God can turn it around for good.
Okay. I know I was looking at your Facebook, you're on my Facebook, and you posted about your nieces, nephews, and I was like,
party, yeah.
Okay, Patrick, you actually, like, because I don't ever see that part of you, right? And I was like, oh, dang, Patrick, you have a family.
I do have family. I come from
somewhere. I'm like, wow, because you never really post that. And I'm like, okay, Patrick, I see you. You know, it was so cute. I was all sitting there like, dang, I wonder how Patrick acts when he's an uncle like that, because you're just so, I get to see you on the job and you're just like, boom, boom.
On it.
On it.
Yes.
Yeah. So what does recovery mean to you today?
What does recovery mean to me today? It means a second chance. It means life. For the longest time in my addiction, I wanted to die. I tried several times, and I'm here for a reason. Yeah. So recovery means to me is purpose. Giving back, helping others. Recovery is a holistic approach. You can't just heal one part of yourself. You got to heal all aspects of yourself, and so that's what recovery means to me. That balance.
Yes. So when you say that, like the holistic approach, you got to heal, like, I see you, like you work out. I went over to see you actually the other day. I was like, where's Patrick? At the gym. I'm all with the clients. They're like, no, just on his own. I was like, all right, cool. So I think that's really important piece too about recovery, is having that mental, connection with your, what are you going to do to keep it? Exercising, walking, whatever, even meditation is really good, So what would you say to another veteran or even a trauma survivor who's struggling in their addictions and are looking for recovery? What would you say to them?
The first thing I would say is okay to ask for help. A lot of us veterans, we don't like to ask for help. We're proud people. And it's okay to ask for help. That's what the help's there is. It's there to help you. It's okay to ask for support. And I would just tell them, you're not alone. I've been through it. A lot of other people have been through it. You're not alone. There are people out there who care about you. You are loved. You are important. You are special. You are worth it.
Wow. So good. I want to commend you because, I asked you how old you were, and for your age, being a veteran, and some of the things you shared about what you went through is like, you're really taking that stride to take care of Patrick and not just being like, well, you know what, I'm a veteran and this is the way I'm going to live. Because you see it all the time, people are not seeking the help. People are out there addicted and drinking that are veterans, and it's like, where do we go for help, or what do we do? And I want to connect it to even saying how you said you were raised by a God-fearing mother.
Yes, I was.
That probably gave you a lot of encouragement and a lot of prayer, prayed you in.
I wouldn't say all that, growing up kind of, being forced into church and being kind of forced into God, you kind of had the reverse effect. And so, I definitely rebelled, and, I hated everything to do with church and God. And again, it wasn't until he showed me that he's all I need that I understood. He's truly all I need.
Okay.
And, again, it was hitting rock bottom and him taking everything and everyone out of my life for me to realize, God, you truly are all I need.
Yes. You started believing that mom was telling the truth, why she had you in church. She forced you.
Don't tell her that.
Yeah. And I think people learn that. I learned like what it is, like we have what standing in the gap is, like those unheard and unseen prayers for family members, loved ones, friends, that people don't even know that people are praying for you.
Definitely.
So
one thing I always tell, the clients, prayer's powerful. Prayer works.
Yeah.
You may not see it, but it works. And careful what you pray for also, because he might answer in a way that you don't expect or in a way that you don't want. So be careful what you pray for.
Yes. People think when you pray, it's like, oh, you're gonna get this. It might come different.
No, definitely. You ask for patience, he's gonna test you. That's just the way God is. God's way is not our way. His thoughts are not our thoughts.
Yes.
And so we got to remember that.
Yes. So where are you at today? What is Patrick doing today? I know I heard about schooling. Where are you working at?
I am working for Journey to Recovery, actually. I am a case manager for the PHP program, the Partial Hospitalization Program.
Wow.
Yes. Very excited to be there. We are growing tremendously.
Wow.
We are growing. We cannot wait for the move to the new building here coming up in September. So we're excited about that. I'm also blessed, though, to see, clients that were clients now coming back and working for JTR. And that's one of the things, that makes this work worth it.
Yeah.
Is seeing, for me, it's if I can help one person then my work and my life has been well lived.
Yeah.
And so that is kind of the way I see it. And to see, you know, some of these clients come back now as peer supports is just amazing. And it's just God's way of showing me, hey, you're on the right path.
Yes, yes, most definitely. All right, Patrick, I appreciate you coming, sharing a tad bit piece of your story, you know, and just thanking you because, you know, there's somebody out there that's going to hear your story. And you, like you said, one person, you know, it's not about, we would love to touch millions of people with our stories, but if we could just touch one person, that's what it's about.
And you never know, that one person might be the spark that ignites the world, you know, and so you never know who we're touching out here. So we got to remember that.
I agree. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
So that's it for today's episode. We appreciate you coming on and viewing and checking out Patrick's story on Autumn Chick Inspiring.